This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for February 4th, 2024. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Season 13, Episode number 20, and Episode number 405 of the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. I am your host, Bob Howard. Welcome to a very, very exciting episode of the Power Play Post Show. One of the things that I really like to do is I like to reach out and not just concentrate on just one team all the time. As everybody knows, I am a credentialed member of the media here in Binghamton, New York. So obviously we give a lot of coverage to the Binghamton Black Bears, and we'll continue to always do that for the fans of the Binghamton Black Bears and just pro hockey here in Binghamton. However, today is very cool because I get to talk to somebody from a different team here in the Federal Prospects Hockey League. And so I'm very excited to have Blue Ridge Bobcats broadcaster. He's the director of media relations as well, Brent Wiseman, on the show. So that'll be very cool. And of course, we'll have 6 more questions with Gavin Yates, a continuation of our interview with him last week on the Power Play Post Show. This is the weekend wrap-up show, folks. So we're going to be talking about, obviously, the Motor City Rocker game on Friday night at the Visions Veterans Memorial Arena here in Binghamton, where the Black Bears did get a 6-3 win. So let's get right into our normal must-reads. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast and subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for the Power Play Post Show. A lot of new members over the last month. Very excited to have some of the people on. Brent Wiseman, who was our guest. Jeff Barrett just joined from the Watertown Wolves, which is pretty cool. And we have some great fans in there. I really appreciate it. I'll continue to give you as much news and information as I can, either about the league or about, obviously, the Binghamton Black Bears. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And as I already kind of alluded to, this week on the Power Play Post Show, Blue Ridge Bobcats broadcaster Brent Wiseman. And then we have 6 more questions as well with, of course, the one and only Gavin Yates. So very, very cool. So, but again, Friday night, Black Bears take on the Rockers. Rockers are number 2 in the division. Bears are first in the division. There was about 17 points difference between the two teams going into this game. This was a highly anticipated game, I think, because Trevor Babin was going to be playing in this game for the Motor City Rockers, and I think that was going to be like a true test. How are the Rockers going to do against the mighty Black Bears with Trevor Babin in goal? I think the Black Bears came into this probably, I don't want to say with a chip on their shoulder, but they're like, okay, yeah, now Babin is here. We're going to still make our mark, dig our claws in, so to speak, no pun intended there, and really try to prove that they are the best team. They don't get to play Columbus this year, right? So Motor City was the other team on the rest of the schedule that they can point to and say, hey, listen, if we beat these guys, we know that we're fine. We're going to be good. We are the best team in the FPHL, right? So the Black Bears played just one game. It was obviously against the Motor City Rockers. They did win the game 6-3. The Black Bears opened up the scoring after Donald Oliveri cleaned up a couple rebounds, 7:01 into the first period, putting the Black Bears up 1-0. Assist on that goal was J.T. Walters. The Black Bears then scored 22 seconds later to make it a 2-goal lead with a shot off the stick of forward Josh Fletcher. Assist went to Liam Anderson, who was initially credited with the goal, and then it was changed. And then Dan Weber also got his first of a couple of assists that night in the game. With Tristan Wells in the box for tripping, the Motor City Rockers a man down. 2 specialty teams goals were scored. A shorthanded goal by the Rockers from Thomas Delaney, and a power play goal for the Black Bears by Donald Oliveri, his second of the game. The assist went to Dakota Bond and Tyson Kirkby on that. Now, that goal that the Motor City Rockers was basically set up because of a bad pass in the offensive zone for the Binghamton Black Bears. Thomas Delaney picked that up, took it out of the defensive zone, took it through the neutral zone completely, skated into the Rockers' offensive zone, and he sent the pass over to Giuliano, and Giuliano then kind of sent a shot towards Connor McAnanama, who was coming out of the goal a little bit, and then kind of got, I don't want to say he got tripped up, but he started to fall backwards. And when he started to fall backwards, he landed on his butt. The puck then squirted back out to Delaney, who then took the shot as Connor was basically falling down onto his back. Could not make that, and that was your shorthanded goal. Probably in the first 40 minutes, probably the only real mistake, only real bad play for the Binghamton Black Bears in the first 40 minutes, without a doubt. The Black Bears scored the only goal in the second period on the power play from Andrew Logar, 6:46 into the period. Assist on that goal was Austin Thompson and Jesse Anderson. So at that point, we're looking at a 4-1 lead for the Binghamton Black Bears. Now, going into the third period, Donald Oliveri, who basically took over this game, scored his third goal, his first hat trick with the Black Bears, putting the team up 5-1. This is only the second hat trick of the season for the Binghamton Black Bears. The last 2 seasons, they've had 15 hat tricks combined, and only 2 this year because the scoring has been so spread out amongst all of the players on this team. So the assist on that Donald Oliveri hat trick goal was Gavin Yates. There's a pretty cool picture going around. If you see it, it's very cool. I did not get a picture of this. Donald Oliveri wearing a cowboy hat after the hat trick. So pretty cool. With Dakota Bond in the box for hooking, the Rockers made the Black Bears pay with a Josh Colton goal at the 12:06 mark of the third period. This brought the game to a 5-2 lead for the Black Bears. The Black Bears then get their 6th goal of the game from the Cowboy, Connor Smith. He sent a rocket past the Rockers' netminder, Trevor Babin, putting this game out of reach at 6-2. The assist on that goal came from Dan Weber, his second assist of the game. The Black Bears give up one more to the Rockers with just 38 seconds to go in the game from former Black Bear Eric Organezov, making this a 6-3 final. The Black Bears are now 2-0 versus the Motor City Rockers this season. The Black Bears and the Rockers face each other 3 more times, but 2 more games coming up this week in Fraser, Michigan, and then they'll have another trip out to Michigan to play Port Huron one time and the Motor City Rockers one more time. Those 2 games in Motor City this upcoming week, we're going to preview them on our upcoming episode on Thursday. These are going to be 2 very important games on the road, and you're going to definitely want to go in there and split as a minimum, but definitely you want to dominate Motor City, being that they are second in the division. You might see them in the second round of the playoffs, depending on how things shake out the rest of the way. However, Danbury is nipping on the heels of the Motor City Rockers. Danbury is starting to, pull together some wins. Matter of fact, right now, if you looked after this game that just completed on Friday and the Saturday action, Danbury's got 17 wins on this season. 6 of them are in overtime. The Motor City Rockers right now have 18 wins, with 4 of those being in overtime. So it's getting neck and neck for number 2 in the Empire Division, and it'll be very interesting and fun to watch what happens the rest of the way. The Black Bears were 2-7 on the power play, and the Rockers were 1-for-4 on the power play, but did score a shorthanded goal. Now, the Black Bears' 2 power play goals were Donald Oliveri, and, of course, Andrew Logar. So both power plays did decent. I think if you look at the Rockers, they scored 1 on 4. We scored 2 on 7. Totally meets the criteria for how good these two teams have been on the power play this season. Let's look at the stats that from this weekend. So we'll get the final tally of the stats and everything for these two teams from that game. Obviously we can talk about Donald Oliveri all day long with those 3 goals. Obviously, everyone has seen the news. Donald Oliveri will be placed on the IR coming up for the next couple weeks. Coming out of that game, obviously, he's probably spent a little too much in the tank. He just used too much and everything. Obviously, everybody knows that Donald Oliveri is not going to be traveling with the team out to Michigan. So to have him heal up and rest is obviously an important thing, and to have him ready for the rest of the season. He probably will not make the other Michigan trip later on as well. But the Black Bears have to make sure that they have enough room on the roster or have a good amount of people on the roster when they travel out there. So Donald Oliveri will sit for the next couple weeks on the IR so he can heal up and whatnot. Donald Oliveri had 3 goals in the game. Dan Weaver had 2 assists in the game. Now, pretty much everybody else, there was a lot of guys with a point in this game. Dakota Bond had an assist. Gavin Yates had an assist as well, including Liam Anderson and Tyson Kirkby, who had an assist. It's one of the first games in a while that you haven't seen Tyson Kirkby have a multi-point game and also not score a goal. Andrew Logar, he scored that power play goal as well. JT Walters, Austin Thompson, they both had assists in these games. Connor Smith got back on the scoring sheet again. Last weekend he did really well. I think he had 3 goals, 2 assists. Now he adds another goal from Friday night. Jesse Anderson had an assist. No shocker there. He seems to, assist almost every single game and on a goal. And Josh Fletcher got back on the score sheet with his goal, second goal of the game and everything. Now, Connor McAnanima, he played well, right? He saw 28 shots, saved 25 shots, 893 save percentage, and his goals against obviously would have been a 3 for the game. He only played 59-10 with obviously some of the penalties and pulling the goalie type of thing to get the extra attacker out there. Not a bad weekend. Obviously, when you have that many people, that many players getting points in the game, it's very good. And again, it's all spread out. It's not lumped into just 1 or 2 people. I know Oliveri scored the hat trick, but with the whole team, I mean, you're dressing 15 guys, right? And 12 of those guys have points. And it says a lot right there. It really does. So we're going to go and we're going to talk with Gavin Yates. 6 more questions with Gavin Yates coming up next. Then when we come back, we'll take a look at the Empire standings after the stand after Saturday night. And then we'll have our interview with Blue Ridge Bobcats broadcaster and director of media relations, Brett Wiseman. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
All right, we're back. 6 more questions with Gavin Yates. Gavin, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Question number 1. To this point in your hockey playing career, what has been your greatest achievement?
Probably winning the playoff MVP 2018 on that cup run.
Yeah, and I think you said to me earlier that was probably your best year of hockey, correct?
Yeah, that's definitely up there. One of my favorite years of hockey for sure.
All right, perfect. All right. Question number 2. Are you a Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation player, and what is your go-to game?
I've been playing a lot of PC on the computer.
Really?
But I've always been an Xbox guy growing up. I like all the Call of Duties. I played a lot of Call of Duty growing up. Call of Duty 4 is the best Call of Duty out there.
That seems to be the most popular answer. No hockey, games?
Yeah, I always played like the NHL hits growing up. Those are always fun.
Yeah, the Sega Genesis. There was that 2004 year where the hockey was just unreal, and people talk about it all the time. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Next question, number 3. Are you a rock, country, or hip hop music lover, and who's your go-to artist?
Right now, I'd say country. I like Morgan Wallen. Morgan Wallen's got all the hits right now.
Gotcha. Oh, country guy. All right. Excellent. All right. Who's the funniest guy in the locker room?
I like JT Walters. I've been with him for years. He always keeps me laughing. I'd have to go with Wally.
Is there any story you can tell that's clean enough to tell about Wally and why he's that funny?
No, not really any stories. He's just a quick, witty guy. I think me and him have the same sense of humor, so we can just look at each other, and I think we start laughing.
Fair enough. All right, question number 5. What is your go-to cheat meal or snack that you would not say is in your normal diet? So what's that one thing that you go to when you're just like, screw the diet, screw being fit for an hour, and you go and you get it?
Yeah, I think honey buns.
Really?
A lot of those, like the little Debbie stacks. I'm a big sucker for those.
Yeah,
honey buns. I can eat a whole rack of those things.
Yeah, you could just you just show up to a gas station and you get those things.
Yeah, they sell the boxes of them, and there's like 10 in there, and probably eat the whole thing in one sitting.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. That's awesome. Those things are freaking awesome, actually. So.
Yeah, they really are.
All right, question number 6, last one. A zombie outbreak has happened, and yes, it will happen. I know it will. And you're locked in a ice hockey arena. Who is the one person, dead or alive, that you would want there with you?
I don't know. I know we got some hunters on the team.
Oh, so you're picking a player?
Oh, anyone in the world?
Anyone in the world. It doesn't have to be one of the guys on the team. Well, this is always the toughest question for everyone.
It is tough. Oh, probably have to go with Cameron Yarwood. He's a survivalist out there.
Oh, really? So Cam Yarwood. Excellent. All right, that was 6 more questions with Gavin Yates. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Power Play Post Show. Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. That was Gavin Yates. 6 more questions with him. We got Brett Wiseman coming up here in just a couple minutes. But first, I wanted to go over the Empire division standings as we go into next week. There is one game tonight that'll be against Motor City and Watertown for the Empire division. That'll actually make Motortown's games played be at 34 and Watertown at 33. The Black Bears right now have played 32 games. They have 22 wins, 23 wins, 3 losses, 6 overtime losses for 74 points. Their points percentage right now is .771, which is pretty good. They are still sub 100 when it comes to goals against with 91, and they've won 4 in a row. So obviously the Black Bears are doing really well. The Motor City Rockers right now, as we're recording this before tonight's game in Watertown, they are right now 18, 11, and 4 for 54 points. They've got a .545 points percentage, and they've scored 127 goals, actually 30 below right now the Binghamton Black Bears. They have 1 win in their books, winning last night. And so the Danbury Hat-Tricks are nipping on their heels. The Danbury Hat-Tricks in 3rd place right now. They have 17 wins, 13 losses, and 3 overtime losses for 48 points. So the big key there is they're only 6 points behind the Motor City Rockers. Motor City will play that game tonight. Let's just say, for instance, Watertown wins the game against Motor City tonight. The The Danbury Hat-Tricks will have a game in hand on the Motor City Rockers, and it's only a 6-point difference. That's 2 regulation wins, and that is something that definitely Danbury could do. So Danbury could sneak in the next couple weeks into second place if Motor City is not careful. Motor City is 4-6 in their last 10 games, where Danbury is 6-3-1. So depending on how this game tonight in Watertown versus the Motor City Rockers and the Watertown Wolves could have some serious implications on the Empire Division standings. The Watertown Wolves, who will be hosting Motor City tonight, they are 11-18-3, and they have 35 points. Now, they're 13 points behind the Danbury Hat-Tricks. I have not looked to see how many more games they still have to play against each other. They have only scored 111 goals on the season, and they are 3-6-1 in their last 10 games, and they lost last night in overtime. So that is their streak at the moment. The Elmira River Sharks are 10-22-0 with 28 points. They still have a shot at catching Watertown, depending on how the rest of the season goes. But they are 3-7 in their last 10 games, and they are losers of their last game. Now, what's interesting about this is I have to say 4th and 5th are not necessarily decided, and 2nd and 3rd are not decided here in the Empire Division. However, the Binghamton Black Bears certainly do have a pretty strong lead for first place in the division. And they have 2 games against Mississippi left, Binghamton does. They have 3 more games against Motor City. All 5 of those games should be tough games. The remaining 4 or 5 games against the Danbury Hat-Tricks, that will be tough for them, and it'll be very interesting to see how everything shakes out. But that's the way it is. Binghamton does have 3 games coming up. We will talk about that in our Thursday show. And we do not know our guest yet. We will get that all figured out. But I do want to take it over to my interview with Brett Wiseman from the Blue Ridge Bobcats, who are, I believe, winners of their last 2 games. So this weekend so far, they have done what we thought they might do, which is win a couple games against Baton Rouge. Wytheville right now, Blue Ridge is actually winners of their last 3 games. So they won the night before, Saturday night. They won Friday night. All these games against the Baton Rouge Zydeco. I believe if I look here, it was a 3-2 win for the Blue Ridge Bobcats. And then if I keep scrolling back on Friday night, they were winners 6-2. So at home against the Baton Rouge Zydeco, we recorded this on Thursday with Brett Wiseman, but we were talking about this weekend. And what's very interesting is the one thing I didn't mention about the Empire standings, all 5 teams have 10 wins or more. All 5 teams. That's awesome. That is great. Parity. Some of the things that the league were trying to do, which I didn't necessarily agree with, there is a positive coming out of it. The rosters being shrunk down a little bit, pushing some of the better players to the other teams, has improved the standings. We do not have a 1-win team this year. We do not have a 2-win team this year. And if you look at the Blue Ridge Bobcats, they are 1 win away from 10 wins, and they're in 5th place. And that would just leave Baton Rouge right now, who has 7 wins. Another 3 wins for Baton Rouge the rest of the way, and every single team in this league has got 10 wins or more. I'm sorry, but that is an accomplishment for this league. It really, really is. So let's see what happens. If Danville comes in next year and we have 12 teams, if somehow, some way we end up having 12 teams and all 12 of those teams have 10 wins or more, that is better for the league. It really is. So, coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show, I'm very excited for you guys to hear this interview. He comes to us from the Blue Ridge Bobcats, winners of their last 3 games. We'll see what happens tonight against Baton Rouge. He is Brett Wiseman, and we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. I am very excited to have this gentleman on. He actually comes to us from the Blue Ridge Bobcats. He is there pretty much everything when it comes to communications and media, and he is their lead broadcaster. He is Brett Wiseman. Brett, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on. And I hope the temperatures down there are moderate, because up here in Binghamton, we're finally getting some moderate temperatures again here in this winter. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Hey, it's great to be on, Bobby. And, I would say moderate for this time of year.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I don't know how much snow you guys have on the ground out there in the Blue Ridge Mountains area of West Virginia, but here it's finally starting to melt just a little bit, even though we know that winter is not done yet.
Yeah, we're not sold on it being done yet, for sure. We know there's, winter 2 electric boogaloo, as we like to call it down here in the southeast. But this is kind of what we like to call fake spring, or spring of deception, where it's warm and you think things are going to trend towards, 60-degree temperatures, and then, boom, all of a sudden you got 3 to 5 inches on the ground, and there's 7 inches up top on the white cap of the mountains. So we know we're not done yet, but we're in a fun spot right now.
Now, Brett, you come from a hockey family, and if fans don't know, I'll spill the beans. You were named after Brett Hull. Obviously, your family, father side of the family, big St. Louis Blues fans, and after Brett Favre, obviously Packers fans and everything. Talk a little bit about your childhood growing up, and just being exposed to the Blues and to the Packers, and how that all came about.
And even the Cardinals, too. I'm a big baseball guy also, but, growing up, and a lot of times you can kind of hear this in my calls, too, when I throw in, a holy jumping or something, because Darren Pang was a Blues color guy for 15 years. I'll throw in an oh baby, because Ken Wilson was the Blues radio guy for 30, 35 years. That's who my dad grew up listening to on KMOX. That's who we would, back in the days when you didn't have, streaming or anything like that. The only way for, my dad as a kid, or even me early in my childhood, to, because we couldn't afford MLB extra innings or NHL center ice, the only way to tune into the Blues and the Cardinals was to get KMOX to come in late at night, and you'd hear Ken Wilson or Mike Shannon on there. So growing up, listening to those guys, and two of my all-time favorites are Gary Thorne and Doc Emmerich. And
without a doubt.
I remember right where I was the moment I knew this is what I wanted to do. I was 10 years old. It was the 2009 final, Detroit and Pittsburgh. And I was watching it on NBC with my dad, and I pointed at the TV, and I was like, I'm doing that. Doc was in a shot in the booth with Eddie up in the booth there, and I pointed to the shot, and I was like, that's me. I'm the guy on the left.
Now,
and here we are.
Now, was it an immediate encouragement from your father and your family to be able to go and pursue that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it may have taken some other members of the family a little bit longer, but I think most of my immediate family knew that that was what I wanted to do, because when I was really young, I would run around the house and do play-by-play of whether it was hockey or whatever. So I think everybody kind of had an idea that this is what I wanted to do with my life, and that it was not necessarily destined, but when that moment kind of happened, it was the seminal, we knew it kind of moment.
and did you play hockey or baseball when you were a kid as well?
I played baseball and basketball growing up. I was never able to master the skating, but I played a ton of ball hockey growing up, whether it was in the summer and the winter, and played a ton of that in college, and always found ways to fall in love with the game and enjoy it, even though I could never figure out for the life of me how to skate. But that meant playing a lot of shell and playing a lot of ball hockey.
Now, how did you perfect your technique? I've talked to some broadcasters in the past, many broadcasters in the past. Some say, I would grab a tape recorder, because some of them were older, so I do apologize to all the young fans. They would grab a tape recorder, sit in the corner of an arena, or even sometimes at their house, and just work on their skill that way. What was the way for a young Brett Wiseman? How did he kind of start perfecting that?
For me, it was, and a lot of younger guys coming up will kind of turn to this, but for me, it was, excuse me, it was either sitting in front of the TV and muting it, and I would have a spot chart and a stat sheet in front of me, and I would mock call the game like it was on my own network or whatever. Like I had full control over it and I had full control over the shots and all that. Even when I would go out in the driveway and just shoot a tennis ball off the garage door, I would call that and envision things in my mind. Every time I picked up a shell controller, whether it was whatever, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5, like even now to practice, I will still mute my TV and call it into my phone on the voice memo and then go back and listen to it. And I'll rip clips off of there that, I made a really good play. I'll rip that and call it.
Yeah.
And throw it in my Google Drive. But no, that just hours of sitting in front of the TV, whether it was live or whether I was playing a video game, just reps.
I know that when I was younger, I would actually record the radio and the in-between spots that they would do, calling out who they were playing next or the song that you just heard or maybe some news. I would actually literally stop the radio, do my own little bit, and then keep going. So it's amazing how practice really does help. And a lot of times it is literally just muting whatever's on and just doing it.
Yeah, a lot of it, it comes with repetition, and eventually at some point it becomes muscle memory. Your brain will see things, and you kind of you blurt stuff out that fits.
No, it's very true. It's very true. Talk a little bit about now. You spent time obviously in St. Louis before coming out to Winston-Salem, correct?
No, I was actually born in Winston-Salem and lived there my whole life, but I might as well have been born in St. Louis, the way my family operates. But
so, did you guys ever go to the Carolina the games at Winston-Salem before you even got maybe even to college?
Yeah, when I was little, we would in Greensboro had a team in the I can't remember if they were on the coast or if they were in the SP, but Greensboro had a team in the early 2000s that we went and watched, and my fourth grade teacher's husband was a goalie for the short-lived Twin City Cyclones. So we went to pretty much all of their games at the Annex before they went dormant, and then was without hockey for a while. But we would watch we went when I was little and watched the Cyclones and the Polar Twins, and when Greensboro had a team, and when the Thunderbirds came back, the whole city was pumped. And I was at App State at that time, and immediately reached out to Zach DeBozart before the Thunderbirds' second season, and told him that I wanted to intern and would do whatever they needed me to do, and did what interns in this league do, and grinded it out for 3 years, got my shot with them, and ended up here. And I think this spot for me, in terms of helping grow this franchise and this brand, and the way that I want and we all want the media aspect of things to be set up.
Yeah,
it's more fun for me because there's a little bit less breathing down the neck, so to speak, because things aren't already established. I have an opportunity, and it's a blessing in disguise that I ended up here because I have a lot more creative freedom in what I'm able to do and what I'm able to put out. And I have people in this office that support me and know that my job and my position is important. And we have ownership here that backs it up as well. Everybody here is in it for the same reasons. Nobody here is in it for themselves. Everybody here is in it for the success of the team and the success of the building. When the ice comes out in the summer, when we have concerts and things come in here. So what we've been able to build in just the short amount of time that that I've been here and the even shorter amount of time that Jimmy's been here, just what Jimmy's been able to do since he came in. It's a complete, flip from what it looked like at the beginning of the year, and it only goes up from here.
What do you think was the toughest challenge for you guys with the Blue Ridge Bobcats? I think probably, picking out the name and the logo and the colors are probably the easiest thing, because there's so many things that people don't know about in the background, what has to happen to get a team together. First of all, they had to actually build an ice surface and create more seating in that. I don't even know how to describe what it was used for before, which was like rodeo and cattle and things of that nature. And they've kind of built an ice rink in there. But what was the toughest thing for you and Jimmy and the other people that kind of came together to build this thing from scratch?
The toughest thing really has been getting the word out. Really,
sure.
Not just in this area and up into Roanoke is one thing, but there was Barry knew that there was kind of an underserved, in the shadows group of hockey fans here in Southwest Virginia, and Southwest Virginia did not have a professional sports franchise of minor or major league of any kind.
Right.
The closest one was Roanoke, and then you've got some summer collegiate wood bat baseball teams, sprinkled throughout, but there was no, legit pro franchise until we came along. And, somebody went down to one of the people that worked here at the building when it was first built back right before COVID hit, went down to Winston with her husband and went to Barry and said, we don't know, we can't get anything into this building other than rodeo and cattle auctions.
Sure.
Do you have any idea? Does Barry, the businessman, have any ideas? And Barry said, I know a ton of people there that are already hockey fans that would beg me for a team, that would beg anyone for a team.
Right.
So let's sit down. Let's talk about turning the Apex Center from a dirt floor into a concrete floor, and then let's talk about putting ice in there. Let's get a hockey team. And it kind of went from there. Barry, found great ownership partners in Chris and Jen, and they've been nothing but kind to me. And Barry's been nothing but kind to me as well, nothing but supportive, and as is Jimmy and Peyton and Jenna and Trevor and all the other great office staff that we have. The hardest thing has really been getting people to know, because one out of every 5 people we'll talk to is, we have a hockey team here, and that's another one of the big reasons that we made the deal with the local radio station to only do our away games, because it's kind of twofold. In Carolina, it was all the games were on the radio, but that people came out because people knew. Here it's one of those things where we want to have our road games on the radio so that, Tom and Sue are out on a Friday night shopping and they're getting in the car coming out of Target. They turn the car on, they flip it to 107.1 PSK, and there's a Bobcats game on, and they'll look at each other and go, we have a hockey team? Hey,
right.
look up when they play next. We got to go to the game there. That's the goal. We want as many people to know as possible, because, this is the only professional sports franchise in this area. The other closest ones are Roanoke and Winston-Salem. So, there's a large population here, whether they're hockey fans or not. And the one thing that, I'm sure you've heard this a lot, is somebody that's never seen a hockey game in person, they're hooked once they see one in person. And I cannot tell you how many people have come up to me and said, I got hooked in person. I watched one of your games on YouTube. You make it so exciting, and it's those kind of things that when you're building a franchise and building an organization and building a fan base, it's those kind of things that kind of make your heart flutter a little bit, because you know that you're doing it for the right reasons.
Is this part of the reason why you came is so because I know of Jimmy very much so. Obviously, he spent a little time up here in Binghamton the first season of the Black Bears and everything. to me, it's almost like the excitement of starting something from scratch. Very difficult to do, very hard to do. As you said, the word of mouth, getting it out there is the hardest thing and everything. But it almost seems like, for me, from just listening to you, you're enjoying this challenge.
I'm absolutely loving it and embracing it. And, you're right, that is part of the reason is, I wanted a shot with another team. Mm-hmm. But even more than that, it's not a bad distance between here and home, and it's close enough to home, but also it's far enough away to where, we're building something in a completely different area. And like I said, it's different than what it was in Carolina because there's so much untapped potential in so many different aspects, not just media, but I think being able to build something from scratch is like me as a kid. I was big into creative teams and video games and would design 50 different uniforms for, a bunch of just for fun, mm-hmm. NASCAR games. I would go in and just make paint schemes for no reason. Like I've always been a creative type in the sports world, and to be able to be a part of something and to be able to present ideas on things that previously the only idea I could present it in would be a video game. It's a dream come true for me because I'm able to use the portions of my weird nerdy brain that I normally wouldn't use to put forth to try and make this team better.
Well, you brought up NASCAR, and I'm a huge NASCAR fan, have been since the probably 79, 80 and everything. And, one of the things that they've done recently that has really kind of like stepped up their game is putting a track in at the Coliseum in L.A. for the Clash and everything. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that's a phenomenal idea. They've brought in different types of people into, celebrating the Clash, music and different types of things there. And it's a very fun exhibition type of game. A lot of people are talking about can the SPHL and the FPHL ever kind of come together, maybe do an all-star game against each other, or the FPHL doing it on their own. Your thoughts on NASCAR and the Clash in the LA Coliseum?
I absolutely love it. Yeah, and the most fun thing for me being from Winston is it's basically like somebody just shot steroids into Bowman Gray Stadium and boom, it tripled in size. I mean, it's the exact same track.
Sure.
It's the exact same layout. It's a quarter mile. Everybody's going to beat the dog snot out of each other for 200 laps, and people come out to see that every week on a Saturday night for $10. Imagine when you get 40 of the best drivers in the world out there to bang doors for 2 hours in one of the most iconic venues on the planet.
Yeah.
And people will say what they want about NASCAR and what they're doing and what they're going about things with, but I will always detract on. Would you rather NASCAR just stay stagnant, or do you want the sport to grow?
Yeah.
Because 3 years ago, having a Netflix docuseries was not an option. That wasn't even, no one thought of that at all. And now it's like the number 3 most streamed thing on Netflix, and it's been out for 3 days. So,
Well, and you kind of joke about that, but my wife and I have watched the first 2 episodes of it, and it's brilliant. We love to see the inside parts of the racers, at their home, talking about it in the shop, talking about their lives and everything. It's very interesting. AKA what I do here on the Power Play Post Show, bringing people in and talking about their lives. So you don't just hear Brett Wiseman, you learn a little bit about him. He's a St. Louis Cardinals fan. He's a St. Louis Blues fan. He was named after Brett Hull. That type of thing is very interesting. NASCAR didn't do that for a very long time, and they've had a couple of these docu-series. USA did one a couple years ago, and now the Netflix one, which I think has been brilliant. And of course, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is an executive producer, so of course his mind is a creative mind as well. Which is very interesting. But we could, you and I could probably talk about NASCAR for about 3 hours, and we would have Binghamton fans and Blue Ridge fans probably jump off the bridge and everything, unless they were NASCAR fans as well. But it is interesting because it is about marketing. It is about getting that word out and everything. And I got to be honest, when I look at the numbers, Blue Ridge right now, Wytheville, Blue Ridge, 1,211 fans through 13 games so far on an average. For a brand new team, and you're not even in last place. Now, of course, Watertown can't get up that much higher because they don't have that many seats. But Motor City, Elmira, these are established cities with hockey history, and Blue Ridge has already beaten them. To me, that's impressive. I think you guys need to be happy with that.
We are. That's something we're proud of. But at the same time, we're not going to be complacent with it.
Sure.
Averaging 12-11 is one thing. We want to average 15 by next month. We want to average 18 by April. We want to get to the playoffs, and we want to have 2 or 3 more home games. We don't even have permanent seating technically here in the building, and the county just approved it a couple of weeks ago. So there's going to be about 3,600 permanent bowl-style seats in here come next year. So
really?
This might look one way to a lot of people now. It looks like it's kind of thrown together, but this is as good an arena in the FBHL, I think, right now, even with the way it's set up. And come next year when that permanent seating comes in, the way it's going to be set up, the way the noise is going to hit the ice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard barn to play in now because our fans are rowdy. But I only imagine and dream what it's going to be like next year when all that noise is going to come down on the opposing team. And if you think it's hard to play here now, just wait.
Will the broadcast position be raised up a little bit? It sounds like if there's 36 permanent seating, in a bowl style, I would imagine that the broadcast position would probably lift up a little bit.
It is, yeah. And believe me, if I have heard the multitudinous complaints of, you need to move the camera higher. I hear you. If I would, I could. I can't. Yeah, right. Those cards aren't in my deck right now. But we are going to build a specific broadcast booth, similar to if you've ever watched a Duke basketball game, the kind of crow's nest up there, where they have at the Saddle Dome in Calgary.
Yeah,
kind of a little, the little caddy corner box hanging off the ceiling that has all the hookups and everything we need, and that we feel we need to get it to the highest point, and so we'll have that built in once the seating is done. We'll kind of assess at that point how far off, how to measure it all out and all that. But yes, to answer everyone's pressing question, next year we will have a higher broadcast position.
I've watched a few games and everything, obviously, and on YouTube and everything, and I'm like going, well, I feel like I'm in the 4th row looking through the glass to watch some of the game, and again, I realized this all came together so quickly. Yeah, there was probably a year's worth of time, but that's still a short amount of time to kind of get things, as you said. There's going to be some permanent seating put in, 3,600 fans that could potentially come into here, and things are going to change. It's going to look different next year than it does now.
And there's room for about 400 standing rooms. So,
wow.
I mean, when total capacity, we're looking at 4,000, which is one of the bigger barns in the league. And when I say barn, I literally mean this was
a barn.
15, 16 months ago was a barn. And to see what it's transformed to, just in terms of, there were 10 months when things started from dirt floor to opening night.
Yeah.
And, to throw down the concrete slabs and put the ice in and put the temporary seating in and extend everything out. It's been a tremendous amount of work from everybody. And to where we are now attendance-wise, and where the team is really too. The team is, so appreciative and, so welcoming of the support and the crowd. They love playing in front of these people. These people love cheering them on. And, for anybody who said this wasn't going to work, I don't think they could have been proven any more wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with that assessment. So talk to me a little bit about this team. We've talked about a lot of other stuff, but we haven't talked about the players on this team. Who are the leaders of this team right now?
Well, of course, our captain, Cody Oakes, is I think he's one of the better captains in the league in terms of just how he presents himself on the ice and off the ice.
Right.
You know, the way he holds everyone around him accountable. We've got Jacob Wolf and Vladislav Vlasov, who both have A's, and Josh Newberg, who you know well from Bingo.
Absolutely.
He's one of the biggest leaders on the team. We've got I think we've got a really, really strong mix of youthful exuberance and veteran experience. When we were able to bring a guy like Danny in after Carolina let him go, he's been nothing but a great leader and nothing short of a point producer. But that I've told people this time and time again, that we have, I feel like, one of the most talented teams in the league. It's just a matter of putting the right pieces of the puzzle in the right portions of the puzzle and making them all work together, kind of like an erector set. Kind of making everything flow in one, smooth operation. And Zemi and I have talked about it. This is, we feel like this is the group that's going to take us the rest of the way, and all we have to do is get in the dance. And when you have goaltending like we do, it's unfortunate that Christian's been dealing with what he's been dealing with. But
yeah,
when we were able to get Owen, Owen's not a 2. Owen's a 1B.
Yeah.
Connor's played out of his mind, but Owen has played out of his mind everywhere he's ever been.
Yeah.
So he doesn't come in as a backup, and that makes Emmy's job easier because he doesn't have as hard a decision to make on who to put in 9 in and 9 out. And when we have a combination of young speed and then that experience and that knowledge on the back end as well. Just the way that the young guys look up and listen to guys like Cody and Danny and Jacob and Josh, and the way that even the older guys will learn things that maybe Joel Frazee or a Justin Daly goes out there and they learn for themselves that, I never noticed that. That kind of back and forth is what I think makes our team so special. Mm-hmm. It's just been a matter of putting things all together and putting forth, full 60-minute efforts. And, the style of hockey that Zemi's building is the one that, that won a championship. Because he's kind of coming from the Andre Nietzsche coaching tree of meshing the European skill-based style and the North American physicality style of things. So, and Jimmy coming here helping, Zemi build the roster since he's been here. Jimmy's knowledge of personnel is fantastic, too. I mean, he pretty much built the team in Carolina that only lost 4 games in regulation before COVID hit. So, like I said, we have one of the more talented teams and knowledgeable staffs in the league. Mm-hmm. And I think the last 5 or 6 games we've really seen where things have
turned around,
started to come together. And, it's the same thing that Motor City kind of went through last year where they had to prove to the rest of the league that they belonged. It was okay, you have talent, show us what it can do. And, in a league like this, you don't have a preseason. Your training camp is 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to take until the turn of the calendar to figure out who the group that is going to take you the whole way is going to be. Mm-hmm. And it took until about mid-January for us to figure that out. But to see how much this team has come together and how much more camaraderie they are around each other, how much they love being around each other, it's a complete flip from when I got here early in the season. And everybody is in it for the right reasons right now.
Let me ask you this before I let you go. Last year, a couple teams, Delaware, Elmira, barely could win 1 or 2 games. This season, we're seeing a lot more parity in the FPHL. The roster sizes were cut down. Obviously, 19 people. You could dress 18, that type of thing. Can you talk to me a little bit about whether or not you think that, I mean, because this is my opinion, and I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on this. I think every team in this league at the end of the season is going to have 10-plus wins, which is something this league has never seen in its existence, where every single team has at least 10 wins. Do you think that is a possibility?
I think 100% that's a possibility. I don't know if I'm allowed to gamble, but if I could, I would put money on that because you said it's created so much more parity, and it prevents teams like Carolina and Columbus just picking guys up off waivers because they can and holding on to their rights, and then trading one guy that doesn't report rights for three other guys, and they can divvy up the pay, and it stops other teams from paying one guy 70% of another team's entire salary cap.
Yeah.
So it makes everybody kind of more of on an even playing field, and especially for a team like us that's coming in as an expansion team, it gives us an opportunity to build and acquire the talent that we already have. And when we go out there and show it, it shows other guys that may be on the outside looking in, maybe looking for somewhere to bust in and make an impact. Somebody like Joel that started the year in Danbury, played 2 games, got cut, was looking for somewhere to go make some noise. Demi found him. He found Demi, and he has been nothing short of spectacular. He may not have put it on the score sheet, but I have not seen him when he's been out there. I've not seen him take a shift off. And that's the thing about a team like us is, and some of the other teams kind of towards the middle or bottom of the standings is everybody feels like they have something to prove. Mm-hmm. And when you see us play a Carolina or Columbus, nobody's scared of anybody anymore.
Well, that's good.
There's no, intimidation or fear of, oh, we're playing the mighty River Dragons or, oh, we're playing the, storied Thunderbirds. There's no fear. Nobody's scared of anybody anymore. Everybody really feels like they're on the same playing field. Right. Nobody feels like they're playing the FPHL equivalent of Alabama or the 49ers. We're playing a team in our league. Nobody's on a pedestal anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that. Obviously, this weekend, 3 games against the Baton Rouge Zydeco. When a team comes in for 3 games like this, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, do you like that? Is there a familiarity by the time you get to game 3 of the weekend that just makes the broadcast a lot easier?
It does make the broadcast a lot easier because I don't have to move anything. But, having everything set up from Friday to Saturday is one thing. Not having to tear it down after Saturday nights is
a completely
different thing, and it's a good thing. Once I wake up on Sunday and it's, there may be we have a game kind of moment of, maybe I shouldn't sleep in the extra 2 or 3 hours that I normally do. Maybe I should get to the rink and do some stuff. But it's a big weekend for us.
Yeah.
In terms of not just the standings, but we've got a lot of fun stuff planned for in game and around the game. We've got special ticket packages. We're anticipating some of our biggest crowds of the season this weekend, and this is a place that, when it is full, even though the seating is the way it is, when this place is full, it is one of the loudest barns in the league. And it's an important weekend for us to have that because, jumping Baton Rouge was the first real big step towards getting to that 4th spot. We might be 24 points back of Mississippi right now, but they've got 2 in Columbus, and then we've got a game on Sunday where nobody else in our division plays that day. So, we're looking at it as, all right, Mississippi plays Columbus. That's not a guaranteed loss for them, but we would venture to assume that Columbus would, air quotes, take care of business in their barn. So, if Columbus gives us some help there, Mississippi loses 2, we win 2 in regulation, then we go into Sunday with, one of those classic GIHs, a game-in-hand situation.
Yeah.
And we could, it could go from where it's a 48-24 as far as the point differential from 4th to 5th to where, we're sitting 15 points back instead of, where we would be at besides that.
Yeah, it's amazing on how quick, when you're talking about 3 points a game and you got 3 games this weekend, how it could definitely change. Brett, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. Best of luck for you guys the rest of the way. I really do hope that the excitement continues to build there. And I'm excited to come down and maybe see a game next year, with this 3,600 seats and just see how this atmosphere is. Because to me, it's just fascinating. I could just drive into the middle of nowhere, boom, there's going to be a hockey arena, and I can watch pro hockey like that. I think that's the best thing. Yeah, it's awesome. And trust me, we'd love to have you. It's been an honor being on here, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Awesome. And we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show. Brett?
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. That is our show for this week. I just want to thank everybody for listening to the Power Play Post Show, from the Andreas Johansson interview to Tommy Ray, Gavin Yates, and, of course, now with Brett Wiseman coming on the show. We've had some of our best listens, best numbers that we've had in the Power Play Post Show returning to the airwaves. So thank you very much for everybody for coming on. We'll go through this one more time. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast and subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for Power Play Post Show and join our group. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And again, thank you to Rob Lapolis, our MC, John Petitucci, our musical director, and the Blue Ridge Bobcats broadcaster, Brett Wiseman. And we had 6 more questions with Gavin Yates, so thanks to Gavin Yates for answering those questions. And who would have thunk you'd want to hang out with Cam Yarwood if their zombie apocalypse happened? I found that amazing. The friendship that these guys eventually just grow and have together is amazing. And I know Cam, and he played in Watertown, I believe, for the championship season in 2018, which is very cool. So obviously that friendship is strong, and I wish Cameron a lot of luck up in Elmira. As I know he's coaching some of the younger youth players, which is excellent as well. So thanks very much for listening. We will have a show on Thursday. We will be previewing, obviously, the Binghamton Black Bears playing against the Motor City Rockers. And then on Super Bowl Sunday, there will be a game for the Black Bears against the Elmira River Sharks. Directly right after the game, we will be putting up our show. You may not listen to it because of the Super Bowl. Well, it'll be there for you on Monday as well. So, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. I am Bob Howard. This is the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.